Welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to be talking about different pieces of advice for when it's your first time going solo traveling or traveling in general. Let's get right into it. Okay, so the first note that I have here is a different perspective of looking at being lost. I wouldn't say I was lost because I always want to be right. But anyways, I wrote, you didn't go on the wrong path, you just rerouted. In other words, it helps you get to know the different ways of transit, which is very true. So, for example, if my Apple Maps had told me to get on a certain transit or bus or subway or whatever, and I happened to go the wrong way, for me or for other people, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I got lost. And I decided to look at this as like a learning experience and just being like, no, I just got rerouted. Like, thinking of it in a positive light. This way, I actually get to learn the different transportation systems over there in Europe. Another thing that I wrote down was speak up and ask. So I kind of covered this in another video, especially in a country where they don't speak the same language. You need to learn how to speak up. Another tip that I have here is to take pictures of everything, maps, signs, literally anything and everything, because this will actually help you. Like, for example, when I got on the different subways, I still did not fail to take pictures of like the different stops that it goes to. This way I know where I'm going. So this is what I would do when I was on the subway. Ready? So I would go, I would take a picture, I would run to catch it, and on my phone, if you go into like edit your photos, you can draw on things. So every time they would call a stop, because a lot of the stops weren't in English, so I didn't know what they were saying, but if it sounded like the stop, or if you look at the metro and you see the light blinking, I would cross it off. So that's kind of how I was keeping track of like what stop we were at, because it's very easy to get distracted. There's a lot of people, a lot of things going on. So I wanted to make sure I was getting on and off the right stops. Another tip is to wear your purse or fanny pack. Personally, I love fanny packs when traveling. So wear that inside of your shirt or your jacket or whatever you're wearing, just wear it inside, tuck it in, because Europe is known for a lot of pickpocketers, and you do not want to be a victim of getting your things stolen, especially on vacation. It's not fun. Thank God it never happened to me, because I was very aware of my surroundings, not getting too close to people, and just making sure that every time I used my card, it went right back into my pouch, which went right in back into my jacket. So just make sure you are aware of your surroundings, make sure people don't get too close to you, and hide all your belongings inside, because they could potentially get pickpocketed. Okay, so another tip that I wrote here is God will lead. So for example, when I was in Vienna, I think it was an early morning, I was going from my hostel in the morning to get to my first activity of the day, which was the walking tour. During my commute there, trying to catch all these different metros and stuff, it was raining and I did not bring the right boots or shoe wear, or really jacket anyway, but we'll get into that later. But I was wearing just like sneakers with like those fabric tops, like not good for rainy weather. And crossing the street, there was a huge puddle, and I tried to like leap. I was trying to use my little dancer skills and like get to the other side, and I jumped right into the puddle. So my whole foot and sock and everything was wet for the rest of the day. So I kind of like thugged it out until my walking tour was over, because I didn't have time. And I was like, okay, I need to find shoes. So after the walking tour, there was a couple like H&Ms around. So I went in there. Shoes were like $100 for some boots. I was like, absolutely not. I'm not doing this. I went into another store, the same thing, but like over $80 for some boots, and I was like, nah, it's okay. So I kind of thugged it out, which is nasty, by the way, but by then it stopped raining, so it was kind of drying, but still, it's still gross. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go back to the hostel and let my foot dry. The sun is already going down, like the day's done anyway. So back to the rerouted mindset, I just let God lead. I kind of got rerouted and was like, God, if shoes are this way and I'm supposed to get shoes today, like, lead me where I'm supposed to go. And I would literally be just having conversations, just me and God. I was like, let me know, because like my shoes are nasty right now. I start walking down this like area of the shopping center, and I noticed that there's a shoe store right ahead. I go in there and I find like a bunch of boot options under $50, and I was like, thank you. And I bought some shoes. So yeah, God will lead. Just let him lead. Next, adaptability. You're going to be in a new location, new language, there's new signage. A lot of things are new and you have to be able to adapt. This is a good skill no matter if you're traveling or in real life, but you have to learn to adapt. That's all I'm gonna say. Pretty straightforward. Another thing that I've realized going on my solo trip is that sometimes you like to prepare and get foreign currency in your country, but it could get very pricey. So I found that if you just wait and get to the airport, even though some people say that the foreign currency in the airport is way more expensive, I found that it was actually cheaper. The exchange rate was cheaper and I got more for my euro when I waited until I was actually at the place I was supposed to be at. When I was in Italy trying to get money for Copenhagen and I went to the exchange, it was ridiculous. I think for like 800 euros, I barely got maybe like 1,000. What is it? Is it Danish krone? I think it's Danish krone. I hope. But the currency in Copenhagen. So instead of preparing myself and getting the currency beforehand, I decided to wait, and the exchange rate was so much better. So sometimes you just need to wait. This way you can save money. It is 8 o'clock in the morning. That's why my morning voice is still like raspy. I was supposed to record this last night, but I did not feel like recording. So it's a Tuesday morning and we're getting this content out right before work, and then we're gonna edit it after work and post it. So that's why I sound like this. Anyway, on to the next point. If you're going anywhere, whether that's sitting down for a restaurant to eat dinner or just shopping to get water or something, you need to ask to see whether or not they take card or cash. Let me tell you a little story. So basically, what had happened to me is after a long day of exploring Vienna, I decided to go to like this another shopping center. Okay, I'm gonna get something to eat and I'll be close to the hostel. So I sit down. Didn't even think to ask them if they take cash or card. So I'm eating my food, I'm enjoying it, I'm FaceTiming people, letting them know like I'm okay, I'm safe, like what I've been up to today. At the end of the meal, he gives me the receipt and I give him my card and he's like, "We don't take cash." And I'm like, "You don't?" I had no euros on me, not even coins. I had nothing. No, I was like, I have money, but like it's just not here with me. And he's like, and I mean, I know that sounds like a red flag already. So I'm like, oh, geez. He's like, "There's an ATM right there." I'm like, I don't want to use the ATM because I think about scammers and stuff. So I'm like, they're gonna like tap into my card and then like take all my stuff. I was like, no, I'm okay. I have money. So I was talking to him and I was like, listen, I am staying in the hostel right down the street. I said, I can run, go get it. So he looked a little nervous when I came back, like as if I wasn't gonna come back, but like I stick to my word. So I came back and I paid it and I said, "Thank you so much for waiting. I am so sorry. Have a nice day." And I went back to the hostel. So moral of the story is make sure you have cash on you because you never know if these places just up and say they don't take card. Okay, so another thing is you need to prepare for the weather. I did a lot of research and the weather in October when I went on my solo trip, like October to beginning of November, it said rain, but like in Florence, it was not raining as much. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, then all of Europe is like not raining as much. That's not true. If it says it's gonna rain, you need to be prepared. So, like I said, the whole boot story, get some rain boots. I was freezing. It was cold. My little jean jacket that I got from the flea market was not cutting it. Okay, so if you're going in October, it rains. Vienna, Copenhagen, where else did I go? Dublin, all that. The weather's like the same here, so just be prepared. So this way you don't have to spend $100 getting things so you can be warm. Which leads me to my next topic, which is don't overpack. I'm a very minimalistic packer, I think. I really just pack the necessities, but because I was going on my solo trip and my shirts are like very tiny and very thin, so I was able to pack a lot of stuff that never got used. So instead of bringing like a big maleta or a suitcase, I only brought my backpack because, like I said, minimalistic packer, that's all I need. In my backpack, I had like a bunch of shirts like this, probably like 10 of them because my trip was like 12 days. And then I probably had like 3 or 4 hoodies that I brought. And hoodies are like thick to roll up and put in a backpack. So I didn't want to bring too many because then I couldn't bring any other clothes. But when I tell you I ended up wearing hoodies like every other day, I was just exchanging them out because it was too cold for me to wear this little t-shirt and I had hoodies. So I was just reusing my clothes. So don't overpack, meaning like Obviously, don't bring things you don't need, but also pack smart. Like, I didn't have to bring any of those t-shirts. I just thought that the weather would be nicer, but it really wasn't. Okay, another thing is to stay aware and stay alert, which we kind of touched this point when talking about hiding your belongings in your fanny pack under your clothes or something. Look at the people around you. You are in a whole different area. You need to make sure that you are safe, aware of your surroundings. If it feels like somebody's following you, which sometimes we all just happen to be walking in the same direction, but for me, it's like you are following me because I made all these turns and you're still behind me. I will pretend to take a picture of something and stop in my, like, literally just stop and act like a tourist and be like, oh my god, I'm taking a picture, so pretty, so nice, whatever, to see if that person's gonna stop too. Because if they stop, then they're following me. If they don't stop and they just keep walking, then now I'm behind them and I just feel more safe. So that's what I do. Okay, another topic. These are kind of like all over the place, but like as I was on my solo trip, like things would just come to mind and I would just note it down, or things would happen and I would just note it down. So, anyways, the next one is sit facing the door. So, this is something that I learned from my boyfriend because when we're out and we go on dates or whatever, he always sits facing the door so he can see basically the whole facility, escape routes, if anything happens. Like, he's my eyes, really. But because he wasn't on my solo trip with me, I had to do that. So I took that tip from him. I sat facing the door every single place I went just so I can see who's coming in, coming out. Again, just being aware of your surroundings and being alert. Another tip is to download all the transportation apps, airline apps. There's a bunch of like different map apps. Download those right before you go on your trip. This way you have all your information that you need for transportation. For the airline, when I was booking my tickets, a lot of them said that I needed to print them because the airport wouldn't accept your phone to like scan in the ticket. So I was nervous because obviously when I was traveling and checking into different places, I didn't have a printer accessible to me. So the first stop that I went to, I had the printout. But when I noticed that everybody was using their phone, I was like, all right, then I guess the phone is acceptable. So I didn't print them out unless I think in one place, what do I have here? My flight from Dublin to Budapest? No. My flight to Dublin from Budapest. The airline told me that, like, on the app, it said that this is not acceptable. They want you to print it out. So that was like the only case where I had a paper boarding pass. But as of October 2023, you do not need to print them out. You will not get fined. I took it and I took the orange one. I forget what the orange one is. But yeah, while we're on the topic of airports, make sure you get there early. I didn't know the size of these airports. So some could be bigger and some could be smaller. I didn't really care. I was there 2 to 3 hours earlier before my flight because you never know. I didn't want to be stressed out with all the lines. Like you just never know. It's my first time in all these airports. I wanted to make sure I had enough time to do whatever, and I was chilling. So that's what I did. And lastly, the last point is don't put yourself in stupid situations. So, what do I mean by this? I got home before the sun went down every single time. I don't go out clubbing, that's just not my scene. So, if you do like doing those things, make sure that you are with somebody, you have your location on for everybody at home. If you are going clubbing or doing whatever you want to do, just make sure you're safe, make sure your phone is always charged, make sure you have a portable charger, like just make sure you have backup plans to your backup plans. So, if you have any more tips in the comments, please leave them down below, especially if they're for like female solo travelers. If not, these tips apply to anybody really. But yeah, thank you for tuning into this video. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you in the next one.